Welcome back to week 4 Pick'em. You got your host McCommon here with Murdoch. Murdoch.
What's up?
All right. We are going to give you the week 4 Pick'ems. You can take this to the bank. Week 3 did not treat us well. Didn't treat anybody in the betting community well. But we're going to change that around. We're going to show you how to take down FanDuel and DraftKings and wherever else you sports bet. So thanks for sticking with us. We're excited to do it.
Was the Chiefs took down the Ravens, and it wasn't even close.
Wasn't even close. That you did call out the Chiefs beating the Ravens by a landslide. That game was actually closer than what it really was, which is kind of crazy to say. Chiefs dominating. Good call out on that. So we're gonna start this week with Thursday night and what is a week matchup. George, why is it that like every Thursday night we get crappy matchups?
So I was excited for this Thursday, last Thursday, I should say, for Miami and Jacksonville, because I was just ready to watch Gardner Minshew just light up the field. And you're right. There's something about Thursday night games that just don't go quite right. The first week was pretty good though, with Kansas City playing the Texans, although they ended up spanking the Texans too. But it's just something about Thursdays.
That game wasn't as close as it looked either on once it was done with it. But so this Thursday we've got an 0-3 Denver team, garbage, against an 0-3 Jets team playing at home. But like when I think about worst teams in the league, like the Jets are right there with sadly the Giants. Like the two New York teams are like, hey, you think you're bad, hold my beer. So this is just a lot of bad football going on in New York. It's right in your neck of the woods. Thankfully, you are not a Jets or a Giants fan. But who you got in this game? Who is getting off the schneid, getting a win thrown up in a W thrown up in the win column?
I'm going Jets. Because of the fact that the Denver Broncos, a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball. I think I saw a report a little bit earlier that they're on their third string quarterback at this point. So
Did Driscoll get hurt?
Yeah. So I'm going Sam Darnold versus whatever quarterback they're able to muster together for the Broncos.
Oh, this is not good. It's Vegas tells me it's a pick'em. I did not know that about that. I was like, my gut check says to go with Denver, and part of the reason is why. So like the Jets lost last week to more or less a backup 49er team, which would inherently tell me like the Jets might not be one of the best 32 teams in the NFL. They're worse than the Niners A and B team. And that's kind of a scary thought. I will say this, the players, apparently Gase is on the hot seat again. A lot of players came out and said, no, we want to keep him. So, like, he has not lost that locker room yet. So I'm going to be with you. I'm going to say Jets in what is ultimately one of the tightest games of the week, basically because we have two football teams that are bad, that can't stop anything, and are just bad. So, but I'm gonna go Jets and say Gase kind of keeps his job and starts to turn it around there and maybe wins 3 games and then gets fired at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it's even worse for Driscoll. He actually lost his job because he didn't do a good enough job. So now they're going to Brett Ripon. And the next person up is Blake Bortles.
Bad. All right. Yeah, let's go. Let's give that one to the Jets. All right. In a game that like this should be maybe the easiest game of the week, at least in my mindset. Our slate on Sunday starts with Seattle against Miami. Miami coming off the big win, getting off the schneid against Jacksonville last Thursday night. So Miami's got a little extra rest. They've been able to prepare a little bit longer, but this is all Seattle all day long. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even close.
Not even close. Seattle's going to win that one by a bunch. Fitzmagic, the Magic's going to end. I will say I'm still concerned about Seattle's defense. I'm still there's concerns there, but too much Russell. All right, our next game, we have Houston playing at home to Minnesota. Minnesota 0-3, couldn't figure out how to beat Tennessee last weekend. Like up late, somehow couldn't figure out how to win that game. That was more than upsetting for me. Who you got in this one? Minnesota, Houston. You got another case of 0-3 teams.
Yeah, just two teams that have not really looked good at all the last 3 weeks. I'm gonna go with the Texans to be able to get it going here. Deshaun Watson's looked better. Their defense hasn't looked too bad when not playing the Chiefs.
Teams,
yeah. I can see the Vikings as being an 0-4 team because to me they're a team that's really not really particularly special in any way. They have a great running back. They've got they got a really great young receiver, and a couple of other pieces. But I think the Texans are going to finally get their first win.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with you there. I'm going to go with it's a pick 'em, right, as far as Vegas is concerned. But I feel like the line's got to move because Houston, like you said, their offense hasn't looked anemic when not playing kind of the best teams in the league. They had a lead for a lot of that game in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a good team. And so whereas Minnesota, like their defense is bad, their offense isn't that great. I just don't see what they're bringing to the table coming on the road playing in Houston. I just don't see that happening. So I'm with you there. We got another one here. We have Cincinnati at home coming off a tie. Almost got the first win for Joe Burrow in the tenure. Cincinnati at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I'm very low on, as we all know. Who are you taking in this one?
I'm going Jags.
You going Jags? You're bringing the Minshew Mania back? I don't like it.
I'm bringing the Minshew Mania back, dude. I'm feeling really good about the Jaguars bouncing back, especially against a team like the Bengals. Bengals, very, very young nucleus. Just doesn't seem like that they're able to gel things together. They couldn't even pull off a win against the Eagles right now.
You know what? I'm gonna split from you here. I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm putting a further end to this Minshew Mania nonsense. I'm gonna go Cincinnati here. Joe Burrow's looked better every game he's played, and he's gonna step up in this game. They're gonna have a big game. Joe Burrow's gonna have a big game. T. Higgins is gonna have a big game. He's looked good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take Cincinnati with the W here. They're gonna finally figure out how to pull a whole game together and win it. I got Cincinnati in this one. They've been close every game this season. Why not?
But they haven't won, so well they have won. Well, no, they haven't. They tied. But
they tied. Hey, that's a win for them.
Yeah.
All right. My Indianapolis, my Colts, out here playing against the Chicago Bears, the somehow 3-0 Chicago Bears, who finally realized, like, oh, we keep nearly losing games because of Mitchell Trubisky. It's time to get rid of him. They bring in Nick Foles. They win last week, going away. By the way, how does Dan Quinn still have a job?
It's
riddle me that, Batman.
It baffles the mind.
Baffles the mind. Indianapolis at the Chicago Bears. Who you got?
I'm going Colts.
Yeah, baby. You're right. You're going Colts. You know I'm going Colts. T.Y. Hilton has started to finally pick it up. Didn't have a monster game against the Jets, but that's because he didn't have to. He hasn't dropped balls the last couple outings, so we're looking for the Colts to really walk away here. I think I like Nick Foles more than I like Mitchell Trubisky, but I don't like the Bears. So
yeah, I feel like the Bears are on borrowed time. They've squeaked out 3 games in a row, and it's only a matter of time before they give one up.
Well, at some point you have to not you don't get to play Detroit, Atlanta, and bad teams. And when you play good teams, magically you don't look so good anymore. Just saying. They almost lost to the Giants. Let's just
Yes.
You're not
Yep.
that good if you almost lose to the Giants. All right, Arizona going across country playing Carolina. Who you got in this one?
You got to have the Cardinals.
Cardinal bouncing back in a big way, right?
Yeah,
I've
100%.
I got the Cardinals coming back. I think Kingsbury's gonna air it out all over that Carolina team, who's weak in a lot of spots. And no Christian McCaffrey. They already got a win last week that against a team that they probably actually shouldn't even beat. I'm taking the Cardinals all the way here.
Yeah, Mike Davis is performing admirably as the backup to Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, like he's still worse than Christian McCaffrey, and the Panthers still had a hard time winning. So it's not even close on this one.
Against a rookie quarterback. Yeah. All right. Speaking of that rookie quarterback and the LA Chargers, they're traveling again across the. We got a lot across the country matchups. Across the country, playing Tommy Terrific in Tampa Bay. Tommy Terrific isn't losing to a rookie quarterback, right?
No, I think the Buccaneers are going to take this one. I just think that there's a lot of really good offensive options. Be that as it may, the health is not that good for a lot of them, but there's just too many targets out there. They're running the ball too well. Chargers seem to be perpetually this team that underperforms and that are playing catch up constantly. Although I am liking the way that the rookie looks, and I'm liking the way that he impacts Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry in their fantasy output, I just think they're not going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm taking Tom Terrific all day long against a rookie. And I think there's just, Godwin's back. Mike Evans looked good I feel very comfortable with Tampa being able to walk away with this game.
Yeah, so I think Godwin's actually out for a few weeks.
Is he out? So he passed protocol. What happened?
I don't know. We'll have to check on that, but I thought I read somewhere that he's going to be out for a little while. He's doubtful.
Well, luckily we've got our own ability to just look things up as we go here. So if I'm looking at Godwin, I don't know that I'm seeing anything that tells me he's not playing. You're showing him as doubtful still.
Let's see. Well, I saw an article a little bit earlier today.
Oh, he's got a hammy now.
They expect him to miss some time.
Yep, he's got a hammy now. So he passed concussion protocol, went right into hammy protocol. Awesome.
Yeah, so Scotty Miller is going to be an option.
It's still Scotty Miller time, but I think as long as Mike Evans is healthy there, I don't know if it matters.
Sure, yep.
So, all right. Well, that's good to know about Godwin. Thanks for letting our fantasy viewers know that. Yeah, although if you can't read the little D next to his name in your fantasy league, you deserve to play him and lose. We've got New Orleans trying to really get off the schneid here. Not playing well against Detroit. Got their first win of the season. Won in upset fashion. They should have beaten the Bears in week 1. They should really be 2-1. Who you got in Detroit?
I gotta go Saints.
Yeah, you feel like you have to, right? Because you look and you think about it like, well, this is still Drew Brees. The Saints defense is still pretty good. Like you feel like, well, duh, right? Like this should be Saints game, but like, I don't know. This is tough for me because like they just don't look like a team that is in sync.
No, not at all.
And that concerns me because like you end up losing to bad teams in games you shouldn't lose when you're in that place. I'm with you. I'm gonna take the Saints here, but man, this doesn't feel great to me. I'm nervous about it. I'm telling you, I'm not putting it at the top of my confidence pool. That one's gonna hide a little lower because I just don't have a ton of confidence over there right now. Man, we got a lot of teams winning on the road this week, which you just don't see that often in the NFL. Here's a team that I'm certain is going to win on the road. They're going to come off the schneid. We got Baltimore playing in Washington. Washington still stinks. They are still bad. They got spanked by a also bad Cleveland team. Baltimore easy in this one, right? Like by a bunch.
Yeah, Baltimore's going to win this one. They just have too many weapons. Washington does have a pretty good run defense. But there's just going to be too many options that are out there. There's too many gadget players on the Ravens. Um, there's just too many opportunities to be able to move the ball down the field. So I think Washington's going to get beat pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. If we're looking at Pittsburgh playing at Tennessee, this is a big game for both divisions really. You're looking at both teams being 3-0, fighting for division leads. Both teams that have aspirations of possibly winning their division. Who you got in Tennessee?
I think it's a coin flip, to be completely honest with you. And when I'm going to go with, if I'm going to go with a coin flip, I'm going to go with the Titans.
So here's my I'm taking Pittsburgh here. I'm with you to an extent that it's a bit of a coin flip, and realistically, I'm probably hoping for Tennessee to lose, so maybe that's playing into it. But listen, we had our first COVID scare in the NFL. Tennessee's they're not all training is done from home. They're not even opening up the training facilities till Saturday. That's gonna mess with teams not being able to realistically practice together all week. That's gonna be a problem. That'll be a problem when Pittsburgh gets in and they can't really go to the facility until Sunday morning. But let's see what happens. But I'm taking Pittsburgh in this one because for Pittsburgh this will feel like a normal week, right? They're going to practice from their facility in Pittsburgh. This isn't a big deal. They're going to fly to Tennessee, do their thing. I'm taking Pittsburgh, not having to have an odd week, not having to miss walkthroughs, not having to do everything remote and through WebEx and Zoom and everything else that goes on. I got Pittsburgh in this one.
I think it's going to be close. I didn't consider the things that you're talking about. That's true. If they do play the game, which it seems like the reports are indicating that they will, I think it's going to be close. I'm still going to go Titans.
Yeah, I've heard everything. Yeah, everything I've heard says they're going to play. This isn't a problem. Same in Minnesota. This isn't a problem yet. They're going to play. But like, how many other players end up testing positive? How many players end up having to miss the game because of that? You know, if it sticks with just the handful, I think it's 5, like 2 players and 3 front office folks. No big deal. Like, you know, it hasn't been anybody big. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's move on. We have Cleveland. Cleveland, right? This Cleveland team is now 2-1. Who saw that happening? Playing against Dallas, who, as we've been saying, they are playing like a team that's like they walk into the stadium thinking, no, we already won. We've got some negative press from your boy Jerry Jones out there on his radio show talking crap about Dak, how he can't win football games. What do you got going on here? Is there too much turmoil? Is Cleveland going to somehow pull an upset on the road in Dallas?
I wanted to take the Cowboys. There's a couple of reasons for that. In general, the Cowboys have played teams that are really good.
They have, yep.
They played the Seahawks. They played the Rams, who we didn't think were going to be that good. And they played the Falcons, who were they're not great defensively, but they're also pretty good offensively.
The Falcons are really good on paper, but as we've learned, can't figure out how to win football games.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Cowboys, but it would not surprise me if they lost to the Browns at this point.
Yeah, I won't say I'd be shocked, but it would be. I'll tell you what, it'd be disappointing, and McCarthy's going to be on the hot seat if it happens, because you can't lose at home to Cleveland. I don't care how long you've been the coach, you can't lose at home to Cleveland. Can't. Not as Cowboys coach.
I think the Browns are perpetually an 8-8 team, and they're just going to continue to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and then occasionally maybe beat the teams that they're not supposed to beat. But
yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. Yeah, I don't think they're going into Dallas. Honestly, there's just too much offense with Dallas, and the Browns defense just isn't that good. Like the Browns defense gave up a lot of points to Washington, and the Browns have only beaten 2 bad teams. So I'm with you. I'm taking Dallas in this one going away. But it is interesting to see if there is turmoil caused by the owner just talking all sorts of smack about the star quarterback. Not something you see often, but you do if you're in Dallas. We've got the Rams at home to the New York Giants. Rams by a ton.
Rams by a ton, yeah. The Giants are just looking really bad this year. I know it's not fair to beat up on a team that's looking this bad, but
yes, it is.
I read an article just before we actually got set up for this meeting. Giants just signed Alfred Morris. So for anybody that is excited about this giant running back that they got off the wire last week, they just signed Alfred Morris.
Yeah, they're so upset that they signed the guy that like has an average of like 2.5 yards per carry in his career.
And they paid Devontae Freeman $5 million or $3 million or whatever it was.
Yeah,
It was
on a
too
prove
much.
it contract. This is. I didn't see that. That's bad. We brought it up a little bit with the Jets. Who's worse? Is it the Jets or is it the Giants? Because they both stink.
So I'm going to go with the Jets are worse.
The defense says that much. They've given up, 30 points in every game. Like, they haven't been close. At least the Giants almost beat Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, I feel like the Jets are pretty beat up from having a lot of players on injured reserve. Not really having a lot to put on the field.
Here's the question. Do you feel like they'd be that much better if Le'Veon Bell was playing? No. And I know it's not just him, but, like, he's the biggest name that's out there. And I know, like, Perriman's hurt, and they've got another wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, that's hurt. But, like, you look at it, and you're like, that's a problem, but it's not the problem. And I really feel like their draft, and I don't want to, like, their drafting in general is the problem. This is like a whole team issue that has existed since maybe the Chad Pennington days. Like, they were good for like a minute with Chad Pennington, and then like it's been this team of just like massive mediocrity where they had like the one like season with Brett Favre and his twisted elbow, but outside of that, like just bad football.
So just to kind of echo your sentiment there, I'll raise you on the Vikings this week. Who was the receiver that had the really big game?
Jefferson, yeah.
Yeah, so who had the big game for San Francisco? Ayuk. So Denzel Mims is on IR. He was one of their high round picks. He's not really progressing. P. Ryan was one of their high round picks. And then they're playing Frank Gore over him. It's almost like, okay, we know you're going to be really bad, so let's play some of your talent and let's see what that toy looks like all taken out of the wrapping paper. Because right now I'm looking at all Qs in their wide receiver core. Jamison Crowder, questionable. Perriman's out. Denzel Mims is on the IR. Chris Hogan's questionable. And then Chris Herndon's not getting it done, and he's the only player out on the field. So Jets are probably the worst.
You may be right. You may be right. It's hard to argue with it. Let's move on. We've got Kansas City playing at home to New England. Is it the return? Like, is Coach Hoodie going to figure this one out? Is that New England team? Like, is there enough talent for him to figure out how to slow down Patrick Mahomes and figure out how to win this game?
Yeah, I'm never going to bet against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially at home. I just think that there's just too much talent, because even if you figure out how to stop just anybody there, if you figure out how to stop Hardman, then you're gonna have to worry about Sammy Watkins or any more.
There's too many weapons. Here's why I'm taking Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Here is the shooter's chance that Coach Hoodie has with New England, is that if there's any scenario, and this is why I'm surprised that like Lamar and Baltimore boys had problems, but if there's any chance that Kansas City has is with the team that can run the ball and play a little bit of defense. And that's what New England wants to do. They want to run the ball, control the clock, and play a little defense. I saw a bad Colts team offensively. I saw a bad offensive Colts team go into Kansas City last year and win a game. They had no business winning because they could run the ball. they controlled the clock, and they stopped Kansas City from doing what they wanted to do and disrupted Patrick Mahomes just enough. And that was a team last year that was just they were not good offensively. They couldn't do much. So I look at that going into this year and I say, like, if there's a team that can figure out, right, and Kansas City's going to lose at some point in time this season. If there's a team that can figure that portion of it out, it might be New England, right? Because they can run the ball. They want to shove it down your throat this year. They're not trying to sling it all over the field. And they don't try to – they're not – Baltimore's typically that team that just runs it down your throat. But you watched it last night with Lamar. Like, they were having him drop back, and he was scrambling to run, and they were telegraphing everything. They just didn't – they were out of sync in that game. It's like, hey, John Harbaugh, like, just line up and shove it down their throat. That's what Baltimore is typically good at doing, and I think that's what New England will try to do, and they're going to do it big time with Cam Newton. And I think that's their shooter's chance. I'm taking Kansas City. Think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be 10 points. I don't even think it'll be that close. But I think that's New England's shooter's chance is by controlling the clock and running the ball and playing solid defense. They don't make mistakes. That's what Coach Hoodie doesn't tolerate it.
I mean, sure, but then also N'Keal Harry lost the ball and on the 1 yard line out the end zone for a touchback in game one. So the mistakes do happen.
Mistakes do happen. That is true. I'm not saying it never happens. It's a rarity. By the way, DK Metcalf. That's not even the first time that's happened to him.
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah. Yep.
So you would think like it happens once and you learn your lesson. Buffalo playing on the road in Las Vegas. Las Vegas was amped up their first week with a home game. I don't think the amperage is there, though. I think Buffalo's winning this one comfortably. I think Buffalo's defense is too good. I think they figure out how to stop Darren Waller, and I think Buffalo wins this game.
Go Bills. I agree.
Go Bills. Circle the wagons, as Chris Berman would say. We got Philadelphia and all their problems somehow in a primetime. By the way, the primetime games this year are garbage. Last week notwithstanding, although the game ended up being garbage. Philadelphia playing on the road at San Fran. I got San Fran and all their injuries beating Philly and all of their injuries.
I think this is going to be closer than we think because they're on their third tight end at this point. That is if we can't get George Kittle back in time. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say the Eagles are going to win this one.
You know, I'm still taking. I mean, listen, the Eagles had one weapon outside of Zach Ertz, who hasn't done a ton this year, and now Goddard is also hurt.
Yeah, well, they have. I mean, I like Miles Sanders as a Sanders effective.
Is back, but I just don't think against that. Even with the injuries on that San Francisco defense, man, I just got to take San Francisco here. And I'm with you. I think it'll be closer than like the records would say and all that stuff, but I got to take San Francisco here. Philly is just so bad right now. They tied Cincinnati at home. They're bad. They're struggling.
It's going to be close, but I'm going to give it to the Eagles.
All right, we got one more here. The Monday night game. Green Bay's playing at home to Atlanta. Green Bay's winning by like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he summed it up.
Do they pile it on? Do they put up 50 points in this game, or do they slow down like after 35?
I think they're going to slow down. I don't think they're going to pile it on too bad.
Okay.
I think they're going to get a healthy dose of Aaron Jones at some point.
Your lips to God's ears, my friend.
They're going to be running the ball. Maybe a little bit of Jamal Williams action.
No, I need all the Aaron Jones action. I can't start them both. I need all the Aaron Jones action I can get. I'm not saying I need another 40-point game from him, but if I'd gotten that last week, then you know what? I wouldn't have I wouldn't have lost my fantasy game. So
fantasy or no fantasy, do they break out A.J. Dillon during this game?
No.
We'll see. I mean, Falcons have played everybody pretty close so far. But I think the Packers D is just too good and their offense is way too good.
Philly or Atlanta has played everybody somewhat close. I mean, Seattle ran away at the end of that game. That's the one good team they've played, and then they've lost to two, like one bad team. I'm putting the Bears. I know they're 3-0. I'm putting them with the bad team. They shouldn't be 3-0. They are a bad team that just happens to have a good record.
Mhm.
They're not saying it right now. They are not making the playoffs. Start at 3-0, not making the playoffs. Be surprised if they finish 8-8. I'm guessing it'll be worse.
So who do you think who do you think is going to win that division then?
Green Bay.
I mean, that's
Going
fair.
away.
Yeah. So
going
you don't
away.
even think they have a chance at like a wild card or anything? Probably not, right?
No, I think I look at them, if they went 5-8 the rest of the season, I'd put them at 8-8. And granted, I don't have their schedule up in front of me, but they still have to play Green Bay twice, right? They have to play Detroit again, who they should have lost to already. So unless Nick Foles is Nick Foles, who won a Super Bowl, which I don't think he is, no.
Yeah.
Then I think they're not good enough to. I don't think they're good enough to go 8-8.
Yeah, there's a couple of good teams in the NFC South. There's a lot of really good teams in the NFC West. So you got to figure that those are the ones that are going to be getting the wild card coming out of those.
Yeah, you think about between Seattle, Arizona, and San Francisco. And San Francisco, with all their injuries, is still I think they're still going to go 3-1 this week because I think they're going to beat the Eagles
and the Rams.
And Jesus, and two of those teams are probably not making the playoffs.
Statistically, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Two of those teams are probably – it's possible, I guess, but because there's 7 teams from each conference this year, right, that are making the playoffs. So, but two of those teams probably aren't making the playoffs.
Probably not. I mean, when you figure that they play each other most often,
yeah,
it's hard to do that. I mean, the NFC East did it a couple of years ago when the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys made it. But then also there wasn't 3 teams that made it. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be really hard to get 3 teams that play each other so often to make the playoffs.
So you look at that and then you tell me how the Bears are somehow getting in. I don't think the Bears are getting in. I think there's like you just kind of said, there's too many. If the Bears are making the playoffs, then that means that the Cardinals, they're taking a spot from the Cardinals or from San Francisco or from the Rams or from the Saints. Which one of those teams at the end of the year isn't going to be better? Maybe it's the Saints, right? But I just don't see where the Bears are fitting into this equation. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked to see, and I know they're 3-0, and there's 2 teams below them in the division, one at 1-2, one at 0-3, right? With Detroit and Minnesota. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those 2 teams finish with a better record than the Bears.
I mean, it's a good point.
We'll see. Be interesting. Well, that kind of wraps it up for us. We appreciate everyone joining on the M&M Show. Always appreciate that support. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel because you love all this glorious, glorious football talk with just a little bit of White Sox baseball just thrown in there. George, any parting words for the fans today?
Yeah, I think that the Titans are going to beat the Steelers. COVID or no COVID is my big prediction for this week.
Big prediction this week. All right, we'll take it to the bank unless you're me because I'm taking the Steelers all day long. Appreciate everybody joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Later, M&M Nation.